Well, can anybody say it's summertime yet? I'm ready. We looked at Acts chapter 21, beginning in verse 27, about Paul becoming an ambassador for Christ in chains. From this moment on, as he's just finished his third missionary journey, now everything is going to be done through either prison or heading to the next place, and he's going to defend himself, really not himself, but the gospel message over and over and over. In chapter 22, which is going to be where we head next, he's going to defend himself before this mob that just about beat him to death. And then in chapter 23, he will stand before the Jerusalem council. In chapter 24, he's going to stand before the governor Felix, and then Festus following him, and then King Agrippa, all there at Caesarea. And then finally, he's going to appeal to go to Caesar and go to Rome. And that's where he wanted to go on the mission trip anyway. And he's going to get his opportunity to do it at the expense of the Roman government. And it's hard to say how many hundreds, if not thousands of people that were converted to Christ because Paul was in jail all over the world at that time. Now, what we looked at from the text was that Paul was trying to make a bridge between the Jews and the Gentiles, and he was in the temple area offering prayers and sacrifices for the vows of those young men that went with him. And there were some Jews from Asia who accused him of taking a Gentile into the temple area, which was a death sentence for whoever it was and whoever brought him. And they immediately began to beat Paul after they drug him out of the temple area. And he was rescued by the Roman soldiers. And at the end of that rescue, Paul is asking to be able to preach or speak to the crowd. It amazes me two things here about that. The first thing that amazes me is that he wanted to even speak to this crowd that was trying to beat him to death. And the second thing is that when he motioned for the crowd to be quiet, they shut up and they listened, which is just kind of amazing that both those things actually happened. Had that been me, I would be saying, "Get me out of here, please." But Paul saw it as another opportunity to preach. As we look at the lessons that we gathered from that, number one, any time you stand up for Christ, you can expect opposition. Now here in America, it's seldom ever, if ever, anybody's ever beaten because they follow Jesus or speak up for Jesus, or anybody's killed. Could that become a possibility one of these days, the way things are going? Your guess is as good as mine, but it's happening all around the world right now. And when you take a stand for Jesus, there's going to be people that don't like that. Jesus said, if they hated me, they'll hate you. And if nobody's hating us, maybe that's a situation where we're not actually standing up for the Lord like we ought to be. That's something worth discussing right there. The second thought that we got from the text was that we can use any kind of difficulty, whether it's a physical difficulty, a sickness, an illness, or a loss of a loved one, whether, or if it's actual persecution because of our relationship with Jesus, we can use those difficulties as an opportunity to preach the gospel. And that's what Paul did. He took this difficulty and he turned it into an opportunity to preach about Jesus. And as a result, there's always people that believed his message, and there were always people that came to follow Christ as a result of it. There's always going to be opportunities for us, if we're willing to take them, there will be opportunities to stand up and to speak up and to honor the Lord Jesus Christ. And I hope that as you discuss these things tonight, the questions that are there on the sheet, that you will realize that there are endless opportunities for us every day to make a mark for the Lord Jesus Christ. Well, God bless you all. Have a great study tonight. Encourage one another, and let's go get them.